back, taking up agenda item PHQJ2, which is a public hearing to consider adoption of an amendment to the Martin County Zoning Atlas to change the zoning district classification for the American Humane Society. Mr. Elam. Ex parte disclosures. Commissioner Vargas
If I have any, they've been filed.
and Commissioner Capps.
If I have any, they have been filed.
I don't have any, and they've been filed. Commissioner Campy
I don't have any.
and Commissioner Heatherington.
I don't have any, and that's been filed.
And Mr. Elam, have you provided all of your credentials to the clerk?
Copy of my work history and the agenda item.
Excellent. Anyone who's going to provide sworn testimony, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This is a request by Gary Oldehoff on behalf of the American Humane Association Incorporated for a proposed amendment to the county zoning atlas to change the existing zoning district on 2 contiguous parcels of land with an approximate area of 13.5 acres from A2 Agricultural District to AR5A Agricultural Ranchette District. Included with this application is a request for a Certificate of Public Facilities Exemption. Subject site is located at the northwest intersection of Southwest Quail Hollow Street and Southwest Citrus Boulevard at 4903 Southeast Quail Hollow Street in Palm City. The existing zoning district on the property is A2 Agricultural District, Category C District, consistent with the Agricultural Future Land Use per Article 3, Division 7 of the Martin County Land Development Regulations. The property's future land use is agricultural ranchette. The existing zonage is inconsistent with the underlying future land use of the comp plan. Therefore, this is considered a mandatory rezoning. Here's an aerial view of the 2 parcels that are subject of this rezoning application. There are 2 standard Category A zoning districts available to implement the agricultural ranchette future land use policies of the comp plan, which are AR5A, Agricultural Ranchette District, and AR10A, Agricultural Ranchette District. In addition to the standard zoning district, the PUD, Planned Unit Development District, is also available as an option. The PUD district offers more design flexibility to applicants for proposed projects. In exchange, the district requires additional benefits to the county and more controls by the county. The requested zoning district of AR5A is the only Category A zoning district consistent with the future land use designation and the currently existing development associated with the areas adjacent to and within the proximity of the subject site. Here are the development standards and structure setbacks for the proposed AR5A and AR10A agricultural ranchette zoning districts, which only differ in the maximum residential density allowed, with AR5A 1 unit per 5 acres and the AR10A 1 unit per 10 acres. This application was heard before the local planning agency on May 15th, 2025. The LPA voted unanimously 4-0 in support of staff recommendation to approve this rezoning. Development review staff have found the American Humane Association Incorporated rezoning application to comply with all applicable regulations in the comp plan as detailed in our staff report. And staff recommends approval of the rezoning request by the American Humane Association Incorporated. We move that the board receive and file the agenda item and all its attachments, including the staff report, as Exhibit 1. We move that the board approve the request to rezone from A2 Agricultural District to AR5A Agricultural Ranchette District. That concludes the presentation.
Questions for staff? Applicant, would you like to make a presentation? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Gary Oldehoff, and I'm really pleased to be representing the American Humane Association in connection with this request to change the zoning. They've got wonderful plans for the property, and they've got a wonderful looking property right now. I mean, it is the most serene, beautiful place. With me today are Dr. Robin Ganser, She's the president and executive director of the American Humane Society, and Miranda Garcia, who is the program coordinator, who's there on site at this property. The association bought this property, and they want to replace a barn that was on the property, and they want to replace a kennel area with modern, updated, raised elevation structures that are air conditioned and soundproof. But that triggered this requirement, according to your code. It triggered a requirement that the property had to change its zoning to a consistent zoning under the county's new Category A zoning districts, because it had an old Category C district, which is deemed by the LDR to be inconsistent with the plan. It's mandatory, and the only zoning district that would be available for this property is the AR5A, which is consistent with and the same as the agricultural ranchette zoning district. So we agree, of course, with the staff's take on this. They've done a wonderful job, and I really want to commend them on the work that they've done on this application. Very, very thorough work was done. And we're going to seek to have you approve this request for change of zoning. Dr. Gansert would like to just speak for a few minutes and tell you a little bit about what's going on the property, or planned to go on the property. And I think that you'll hear that this is going to be a wonderful addition to Martin County.
Gary, could you stay up and help me hold these? Thank you. We'll start out with this one. Hello, I'm Dr. Robin Gansert, and I'm so proud to be here today. Thank you so very much for taking the time and considering this petition. First of all, American Humane Association is our country's oldest national humane organization, founded almost 150 years ago. And contrary to my children's belief, I haven't been CEO for 150 years, but it has been a long time. We work around the world. You already know us through our rescue program that was founded on the battlefields of World War I. You know us through our No Animals Were Harmed and the making of this movie. If you have a cage-free egg, you know American Humane, because we certify most of the cage-free eggs in this country. Most humanely raised agriculture is certified through the entity that I have the privilege and the opportunity to lead. This organization is so proud to have Martin County as our new home, our home for our sanctuary. And when Gary described it, I can tell you it is a place of peace. It's heaven on earth, and it's also a place where we are going to serve America's wounded warriors by providing them with service dogs. About 10 years ago, it was General Petraeus and General Keane who came to me and said, we need to have a service dog program for wounded warriors to stem the tide of suicides. These are the wounded warriors who face PTS and TBI. And so we created Pups for Patriots. And as we looked at this program's growth, I realized that I had a vision of having a beautiful sanctuary, a residential place for our service dogs. Hence the opportunity to be in Martin County, the opportunity to build this incredible facility that we're talking about, have kennels, and of course what I call our Ark of Hope barn. So this is, again, a beautiful slice of heaven, and we also have absolutely celebrated the land and the biodiversity on this particular plot of land. I'd like to introduce you to a drawing of what our Ark of Hope barn will look like. It's rather large, it's rather glorious, and again, it has all state-of-the-art facilities for animal care and handling. And right behind it, thank you, Gary. You have the view that you saw in the slide presentation, and of course, this is the entire plot of land. You can see that this right there will become the Ark of Hope barn. It was an old riding arena that has been removed, and the kennels will be, I think I'm right upside down. They're right here. And those will be the state-of-art chemicals, again, with soundproofing and HEPA filters and all the latest in terms of systems. So we're delighted to be in Martin County. We're delighted to protect animals here and bring our incredible rescue program. But most importantly, this will be a place where we train service dogs for wounded warriors. Thank you so much.
Any further information? Questions for the applicant? This is a public hearing. Would anyone from the public like to address us? Hearing none, back to the board. Commissioner Camp.
First off, thank you for the presentation. Your team, your local team, who I have had the opportunity to meet in the past, have done a remarkable job explaining to those of us that are not as, once we heard it, then I said, oh, like you mentioned in your presentation, we've heard of these things, just didn't realize who was doing it. So it's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for picking Martin County. I think it's a great compliment. We have a lot of organizations that we hope to see you all collaborate with. I know that that has already begun to do that, so it's my pleasure, especially considering you've smartly selected Palm City for your operation. I'm honored to make the motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Next up is public hearing quasi judicial number 3, which is a public hearing, which is a request for approval of a revised major final site plan for Parrott Circle Storage Facility, formerly known as CNC Recreational Vehicle Resort Development. This is a quasi judicial public hearing. Are there any ex parte disclosures? Commissioner Vargas
If I have any that's been filed.
and Commissioner Capps?
If I have any, they have been filed.
I don't have any, and they've been filed. Commissioner Campy
I don't have any, and they've been filed.
and Commissioner Heatherington.
I don't have any, and that's been filed.
And Mr. Elam, have you provided your credentials to the clerk?
Copy of my work history and this agenda item have been turned in.
Anyone who's going to be providing sworn testimony, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Proceed, Mr. Elam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Brian Elam, Principal Planner with the Growth Management Department. This is a request by HJA Design Studio, LLC, on behalf of Land America 225, LLC, for approval of a revised major final site plan to construct a 59,932 square foot, two-story self-storage facility with a total area of 119,983 square feet, and the associated infrastructure on approximately 4.5 acres of an 11.1 acre undeveloped parcel. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. The subject site is located at 450 Southeast Parrott Circle, generally on the east side of South Canner Highway, approximately 0.3 miles south of Southeast Pomeroy Street, and directly north of Charlie's Neighborhood Bar and Grill in Stewart. The site was approved on December 26, 2012, as a 57-lot recreational vehicle park. A preserve area management plan was established from previous Canner Professional Center and Southeast Parrott Circle driveway projects, approved in March of 2008. There are no proposed changes to the existing preserve areas or PAMP with this application. The current zoning on the property is CC Community Commercial District and RS-3 Low Density Residential District. The future land use is commercial general and low density. A mandatory rezoning was approved by the board December 6, 2022, rezoning the portion of land with a low-density future land use from A1A Agricultural District to RS3 Low Density Residential District. The entirety of the proposed development is located on the portion of land zoned community commercial. Setback is required from the existing wetland and preserve areas that were previously established. This is the revised final site plan. The building is set back from South Canner Highway approximately 390 feet and is accessed via Southeast Parrott Circle. The building's primary facade complies with our Article 4, Division 20 commercial design standards, providing elevated parapet locations and accented cornice treatments and other various architectural features. The property fronting South Canner Highway consists of approximately 2 acres. So here's Canner. There's approximately 2 acres of preserved land under a PAMP from the street, that's fronting the street. That preserve area wraps around the northern portion of the proposed development and all the way down the eastern property line, all the way to the southern property line. The development has gated access to the northern portion of the building that includes outdoor storage and loading areas. So as you pulled in the driveway here, they have a gate which you access the loading areas and some outdoor storage that's on the northeastern portion of the property. Development provides 16 parking spaces to accommodate customers. Development review staff have found the Land America 225 LLC application to comply with all applicable regulations of the comp plan as detailed in our staff report. This matter was heard by the local planning agency on June 5th, 2025, and the LPA voted unanimously to approve staff's recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the application. We move that the board receive and file the agenda item and all its attachments, including the staff report, as Exhibit 1. We move that the board adopt a resolution approving the revised final site plan for the Parrott Circle Storage Facility Project. That concludes the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff? Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Hello, Commissioners. I hope you're having a good day today. Thank you for your time. My name is Erica Beitler. I'm the agent for the applicant with HA Design Studio. Brian promised me the mouse today, so thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you, staff, for working diligently with our team over the last couple years. Sorry, there we go. All right. So as Brian mentioned, this site is located off of Canner Highway and behind Charlie's Bar and Grill. Our team worked together with staff back and forth over the last few years to make sure that we meet all the needs. This project represents a strategic reuse of the currently vacant parcel to meet current growing storage needs in the community while preserving the environmental resources on site and aligning with Martin County's long-term goal. You can see here, this is our site, and we're surrounded by residential communities and Charlie's in our front. We have a shared access with Charlie's Bar and Grill through an easement. Our site is, as Brian mentioned, mostly in conservation easements, and the existing approved PAMP maintains the same. And we are surrounded by other residential areas. The previously approved plan was formerly a recreation vehicle resort development. And as you can see, this was the approved PAMP area here that hugs the property. We are requesting a 2-story self-storage unit with a footprint of 59,000 square feet, and it will overall be gross of 119,000 square feet. We have shared access with improvements, a gated drive right before you get into the bulk of the development. We have outdoor storage opportunities for trailers and recreation vehicles, consistent with what was approved previously, but also high-end indoor storage, secured, has elevators, and really we are preserving not preserving, but there is 77% open space on this site, and 59% of that is within conservation easements. we have 46 trailer RV boat parking spaces that are 10 by 30s. And we are meeting all the appropriate setbacks from the wetlands and preservation areas, as well as a 100% native vegetation, as is per code, but always like to make it native as much as we can. And in the southeast, south corner, sorry, is the dry retention area. We have here, this arrow is a front section. Really from the road, you may see some of this main area to the south, but in all, this is the front elevation. It's pretty modern, clean, and it meets all the design criteria working with staff that need to be met. And here just breaks up a little bit more with details. And the color palette, it's pretty neutral considering our environment and surroundings. We didn't want to make it a sore thumb. Here is just an extensive map, just reiterating the fact that we are surrounded by all these residents, some Cleveland Clinic and IRSC down the road. And I just wanted to show you that we are pretty far away from the the closest residents, 280 roughly being the closest, but we also have the wetland buffer and wetland and upland buffer and this native landscape buffer to our south, bordering, what is that? I'm sorry, I just blanked. Martin's Crossings. So with that said, I just wanted to say that Parrott Circle's storage facility was thoughtfully designed to be code compliant development, low impact, that integrates seamlessly with the surrounding community. This project meets and or exceeds all zoning, environmental, and design requirements and emphasizes that community compatibility and environmental stewardship as best as we can, preserving over 8 acres of open space. It provides a safe, efficient access for future users. So we appreciate your guidance and consideration for this project. And I'm here for any questions or site details you want to talk.
Questions for the applicant? Commissioner Vargas.
Okay,
Erica.
Erica, I'm Eileen. The owner is out of Delray Beach,
Yes, ma'am.
and this is what they do, is set up storage places?
They do. They're known for high-end, high-security places.
High-end, okay, storage area. I just think everybody will have a giant garage sale in Martin County. I've expressed that several times. Stop this. So you said it's about 70% conservation wetland preserves, is that correct? I had a different number.
I said 59%.
Oh, it's 15, okay, well, that's.
It's 77% open space, but
open
of that.
space. Is that about that? Okay. So what about the environmental report? Everybody's talking about the gopher tours, which have been discovered in that area, and some companies unfortunately didn't respect that. So I'm very concerned about that.
Yes, ma'am. We don't have our environmental consultant here, EW, with us, but I do know that the PAMP has been reviewed diligently with staff, and nothing has been affected for site development for that. And I'm certain with requirements of the state that we will be diligently searching for tortoises and go with the
I would hope so.
Of
Because they
course.
could be disturbed, once you start.
understood.
Construction.
It's illegal.
I believe that's a requirement of
Yes,
prior to pre-construction. I believe.
absolutely.
Correct. An updated gopher tortoise survey is required prior to construction.
Okay, and if they're discovered, they have to
They are.
stop, they have to pay for the transport, relocation, everything, which they don't survive too well, I know. I spoke to a scientist about that, so, which I am not, but anyway. Yeah, that was a couple of questions. I noticed, I was really concerned about who's going to be peering from the second floor into somebody's swimming pool area in the surrounding area.
I do
Homes.
have rear elevations I could show you, which don't have any windows. So I hope there is nobody that can see through walls. But So unfortunately, that they wouldn't have anybody peering in, and I would assume it would just be secured walls and rooms. But with the native vegetation that's within the upland preserve and the proposed buffer, landscape buffer, I would, how do you go back on this? This was the approved plan landscape detail that we have since updated, but we kept this half requirement due to the existing buffer and the crossings.
Okay, and then it says 6-foot opaque fence or wall.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you put in a wall with trees so that,
Well, we weren't going to do a wall because there's existing saw palmettos there that are pretty substantially grown, and we don't want to disturb the existing vegetation there. I don't have a detail of that per se, but and underneath a lot of these trees are big existing clumps of probably 4.5, 5 foot saw palmettos.
Any further questions? This is a public hearing. Would anyone from the public like to address us? Seeing none, back to the board.
I'll make a motion for staff's recommendation of approval.
I will second it.
Is there any further discussion? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time. Thanks. And your service. Thank you, Brian and staff. See you guys soon.
Next item is quasi-judicial public hearing number 1, which is a request for approval of the final site plan for Discovery PUD Phase 3C, which is a clubhouse tract. This is an quasi-judicial proceeding. Commissioner Vargas, any ex parte disclosures?
I have none, and it's been filed.
Commissioner Capps?
If I have any, they have been filed.
I don't have any, and they've been filed. Commissioner Campy?
I don't have any, and they've been filed.
Commissioner Heatherington?
I don't have any, and that's been filed.
Mr. Elam, have you filed all your credentials?
It's a copy of my work history on the agenda item.
And anyone who's going to be providing sworn testimony, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brian Elam, Principal Planner with the Growth Management Department. This is a request by Lucido and Associates on behalf of Atlantic Fields Club, LLC, for final site plan approval for Phase 3C, Tract R11-L, which includes the main golf clubhouse, a lake clubhouse, spa buildings, an outdoor amphitheater, and associated infrastructure within the Discovery PUD. Excuse me. Included is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. The property is located north of Bridge Road, approximately 1 mile east of the I-95 interchange at 2935 Southeast Bridge Road in Hope Sound. Current zoning on the property is PUD by way of the Discovery Plan Unit Development Zoning Agreement, approved in September 2022. The future land use is rural lifestyle. This is an excerpt of the phasing plan approved with the Third Amendment that I'm using here to provide a visual location of where Phase 3C is on the property. To the right is Bridge Road, so that would be your south, and then up above there is the north. Here's an excerpt from the Phase 3C final site plan showing the overall area consisting of approximately 11.81 acres. Development includes the main golf clubhouse, lake clubhouse, spa, and the outdoor amphitheater. Development review staff have found the Atlantic Fields Club LLC application to comply with all applicable regulations of the comp plan as detailed in the staff report. Review of this application by the local planning agency is not required. Staff recommends approval of this, and we move that the board receive and file the agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report, as Exhibit 1 I move that the board adopt the resolution approving the Phase 3C final site plan for the Discovery PUD project. That concludes the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff? No. Applicant, would you like to make a presentation?
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Afternoon.
How are you all? For the record, my name is Bob Rains. I'm a land use attorney with the Gunster Law Firm here this afternoon on behalf of the applicant. I did just have a couple of quick questions for Mr. Elam, if I could, with your permission. Mr. Elam, I'm just reading, I'm looking at the staff report, section F. It says that staff has reviewed this application and finds that it complies with the LDRs as detailed within the report, and staff recommends approval of this development application as consistent with the guidelines and standards of the applicable comprehensive goals, objectives, and policies as implemented in the LDRs. Is that your section, sir? Did you write that?
Yes.
And in your professional opinion, is that still the case?
Yes.
And then also, section G states that staff has reviewed this application and finds that it complies with the LDRs as detailed within the staff report, and staff recommends approval of this development application as consistent with the guidelines and standards of the applicable comprehensive goals, objectives, and policies as implemented in the LDRs. Did you also write that?
Yes.
And you, in your professional opinion, you still believe that's the case?
Yes.
And also, in your professional opinion, do you believe that this proposed final site plan is consistent with the approved preliminary master site plan and the third amendment to the PUD?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to ask Morris Crady, if I could, Commissioners, to come up for 1 second. We're not really going to make any kind of presentation because we had a detailed presentation along this layout previously when we did some of the preliminary stuff and master site plan. But Mr. Crady, if you can just introduce yourself and if you're sworn in.
Sure. Excuse me. For the record, my name is Morris Crady. I'm senior partner with Lucido and Associates and a 35 member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, and I have been sworn in.
And in your professional opinion, sir, does this final site plan, is it consistent with the approved master site plan and the PUD
Yep.
and all the amendments?
Yes, it's consistent with all of the PUD amendments and the master site plan.
And also the code, the LDRs and the Martin County Comprehensive Plan?
Yes, that's
Thank
correct.
you. So, Commissioners, I mean, if you have any questions, we're certainly happy to answer that. I believe, you know, again, this is a final site plan approval. There's no amendments to the PUD. It's consistent with the preliminary site plan and the PUD agreements and all the amendments. And we would respectfully request that you approve the final site plan before you today. We'll be glad again to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Campy?
Not so much questions. Take public comment, I guess, and then I'll.
Would anyone from the public like to address us? Seeing none, back to the board.
Thank you. Having had the opportunity, as many of us have, that have been up for a bit, to follow through this from its beginning iterations, I think that the project that Discovery Land Company has brought to Martin County and now Atlantic Fields with Mr. Malcurie and the team have created something that's just world-class. And I personally believe we're fortunate to have it here. As they've reached these milestones, I'm happy for them. I appreciate the efforts of our staff to go through and make sure that everything that we would require is handled. I think in a situation such as this, that is not such a difficult task, simply based on the fact that they're creating a remarkably beautiful, very well-done facility that will bring residents, probably not their primary residents, but will bring residents to the community that I know our not-for-profit community is already all buzzing about. Because not only will it bring a tremendous tax benefit to all Martin County residents without a lot of draw on the schools and the roads and the beaches and the libraries, but tremendous tax-based generation, which, as we try to balance out our tax structure between taking some of the burden off of our residents and putting it more into commercial and industrial, but in this particular case, a mix of residential. The statistic that we've been using, and I've heard accurate, is the equivalent of nearly approximate 6,000 homes is what you'd have to build to bring in what these 17, excuse me, and give you a density bump there, 317 will bring, as well as the fact from a not-for-profit point of view, I like to say people give where they live. And so as people start to build their homes in this community, I think we'll see the ripple effect of how they will see. We had 2 examples this morning of charities that, not-for-profits that work in our community to our residents' benefit. I think Atlantic Fields and 1 or 2 other projects will be the leaders in that effort. So honored to accept staff's recommendation on this agenda item.
Anyone else?
I agree, and I'll second it.
If there's no further comment, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. On to DPQJ2, which is a request for approval of the final site plan for Discovery PUD Phase 3B Golf Performance Center tract. And this is quasi-judicial. Commissioner Vargas, any ex parte disclosures?
I have none. It's been filed.
Commissioner Capps?
If I have any, they have been filed.
I don't have any, and they've been filed. Commissioner Campy?
Still don't have any.
Commissioner Heatherington?
I don't have any, and they've been filed.
And Mr. Elam, do you have credentials that you're passing to the clerk?
Copy of my work history and the agenda item.
You print up a lot of credentials, don't you? I mean, we can't just.
Same one, over and over.
This is quasi-judicial. If you're going to be providing sworn testimony, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Brian Elam, Principal Planner with Growth Management. This is a request by Lucido and Associates on behalf of Discovery Hope Sound Investors, LLC, for approval of the Phase 3B final site plan for the Discovery Planned Unit Development. The subject cited is an approximate 21.9 acre portion of a 1,530 acre property. The proposed development includes a golf performance center with hitting bays and training facilities, including associated infrastructure. Included is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. Property is located at 2935 Southeast Bridge Road, north of Bridge Road, and approximately 1 mile east of the I-95 interchange. The current zoning is Discovery PUD, and the future land use is rural lifestyle. This is again an excerpt of the approved phasing plan, and just to give you an idea of where the location is, to the right would be Bridge Road, which would be south. And this is an excerpt, close-up, showing you this particular phase, the total area, and the performance center, and the training facilities.
You'll have to go over there.
So Development Review staff have found the Atlantic Fields Club LLC application to comply with all applicable regulations and the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan is detailed in the staff report. Review of this application by the LPA is not required. We move that the board receive and file the agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report as Exhibit 1, and move that the board adopt a resolution approving the Phase 3B final site plan for the Discovery PUD project. That concludes the presentation.
Questions for staff? Mr. Raines.
Good afternoon again. Once again, for the record, Bob Raines with the Gunster Law Firm here on behalf of the applicant. And again, just very quickly, Mr. Elam, you're responsible for Section F. I'll try to circuit this, Commissioner, for Section F and Section G in the staff report, correct?
That's correct.
And those find that we're in compliance with the LDRs and the comprehensive plan, is that correct?
That's correct.
And we also meet all the requirements of consistent with the preliminary site plan and the PUD, the PUD, master site plan, the PUD agreement, and all these amendments. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Grady, just for 1 second. Again, we have no presentation, again, based on what we had, but Mr. Grady, for the record.
Yeah, again, Morris Crady, Senior Partner with Lucido and Associates.
And
And we're, yeah, and have reviewed we're actually coordinated the application package through the process, and I do believe it meets all of the PUD requirements and applicable comprehensive plan and land development
you were
regulations.
sworn in.
And I was sworn in, yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Again, Commissioners, we'll be glad to answer any questions you might have, and we again appreciate your patience and time.
Questions for the applicant? This is a public hearing. Would anyone from the public like to address us on this matter? Seeing none, we're returning to the board. Commissioner Campy.
You can go first.
I'll move staff's recommendation for approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, and no pressure, but the Golf Digest magazine just declared that Apogee was the best practice facility and golf performance center in the entire United States, so no pressure.
Well, you got to let them open.
You got a year to achieve that. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes
Let
unanimously.
them eat cake. You taking up golf, best thing that ever happened in Martin County.
DPQJ is a request for approval of the final site plan for Discovery PUD Phase 1C, Tract M2, which is the maintenance facility and associated infrastructure. Oh, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Are there any ex parte disclosures? Commissioner Vargas.
None, and I filed the report.
Commissioner Capps.
If I have any, they have been filed.
I don't have any, and they've been filed. Commissioner Capps.
Since the last agenda item, I did have a couple of conversations with the applicant. No, I have none.
And Commissioner Heatherington.
I don't have any, and that's been filed.
And Mr. Elam, would you provide another stack of papers to the clerk?
I have another stack of papers, the agenda item and my work history, but also included is the resolution to approve, which was somehow electronically not available on the agenda. Something happened during the compilation of the agenda. So I've turned it in.
Okay. Anyone who's going to be providing sworn testimony, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Proceed.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, this is a request by Lucido and Associates on behalf of Discovery Hope Sound Investors LLC for approval of the Phase 1C final site plan for the Discovery Planned Unit Development. Subject site is approximately 21.3 acre portion of the 1,530 acre property. The proposed development includes a maintenance facility, office building, cart barn, various agricultural structures, and related infrastructure, including a 50-foot wide landscape berm along the entire Bridge Road frontage. Included is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. It's just the property is located north of Bridge Road, approximately 1 mile east of I-95 interchange at 2935 Southeast Bridge Road in Hobe Sound. Zoning is Discovery PUD, and the future land use is rural lifestyle. Again, the phasing plan to the right is Bridge Road south, and you can see that this particular site plan has to do with Phase 1C right along there. This is an excerpt of the final site plan showing you the developments, the cart barn, and the storage areas. So Development Review staff have found the Atlantic Fields Club LLC application to comply with all applicable regulations, and the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan is detailed in the staff report. Staff recommends approval. This was not required to be heard by the local planning agency. We move that the board receive and file this agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report, as Exhibit 1, and move the board adopt the resolution approving the Phase 1C final site plan for the Discovery PUD project. That concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have a request. Since the resolution for approval is not included in our packet, and you did include it in the clerk's packet, you want to put it on the camera so that we don't have any irregularities?
That back?
Yeah.
already got it up.
Okay, good.
You don't have to. She already has it up.
Oh.
How is it in her packet and it's not in mine?
This is mine.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Elam? Applicant.
Once again, for the record, Bob Raines with the Gunster Law Firm here on behalf of the applicant. And thank you, Commissioner, for putting that up. I appreciate it. I think that was a great idea to make sure we got all our i's dotted and t's crossed, so thank you. Again, Mr. Elam, just very quickly, you're responsible for Section F and Section G in the staff report, correct?
Yes.
And those state that this project and final site plan complies with the Land Development Code and the comprehensive plan and is consistent with that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And is it also your professional opinion that this project and final site plan is consistent with the preliminary and master site plan approval and the PUD agreement and all the amendments?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Mr. Crady, one more time. Yep. Just to take that and we'll be done.
Okay, Morris Crady, again, senior partner with Lucido and Associates, and I coordinated the application process, and I believe it meets all the requirements in the PUD agreement, the amendments, and applicable codes and comprehensive plan policies.
And you've been sworn in.
And I have been sworn in.
Thank you. Again, once again, thank you for your time and your patience, and we appreciate everything, and we would respectfully request you approve this final site plan. We'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? This is a public hearing. Would anyone from the public like to address us on this matter? Seeing none, back to the board. Commissioner Campy.
I'd like to hear from the applicant if he could just give us a general update on how things are going. Are they on time? I hear things in the community, but we'd love to hear it directly from you. It's take your sons to work day, so we thought.
It is on that. Good afternoon. My name is Rick Melcori with Atlantic Fuels. We are pretty much on target with the project right now. The primary golf course is now complete. Going through the grow-in process. We're working through some of the golf buildings, Golf House Performance Center. Utilities are on schedule. We're just about completed with our tie-ins to SMRU's facilities north and Sea Branch. As far as the residential homes, we've got about 10 under construction right now and another 25, 30 in the pipeline in some various process. The furthest one along is in the process of windows and doors and that kind of stuff, and the rest of them are somewhere in between. We intend to, obviously, because of the size of the clubhouse, we probably won't start that until at least in the fall. It's probably a 2.5+ year build. Just based on timing, what we try to do is bring the amenities on in the fall when the residents are coming back. So because of the timing on that, we'll probably delay the construction a little bit on it, but I'm still moving forward. And obviously maintenance complexes and things like that are pretty important to us, so we need to get that going. Beyond that, for the moment, we are shut down for the summer. So we're kind of in the construction mode. We've paved about, I'd say probably 35–40% of the infrastructure. Now the roadways are paved. We're in the process of landscaping the streetscapes and things like that. I don't know if you've driven by lately, the entrances kind of landscape. We're in the process of doing the greeter's cottage and gate systems, et cetera. And then now we'll start working on the perimeter buffers, perimeter security, et cetera. So happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
One more for him. I'm sorry, just to follow up, I was at a presentation where Mr. Hurley was talking about the donations that you made when you originally put the project in place. Can you share again for either remind people?
Yeah, there was several components of the PUD that we had that were part of our approval process. We are pretty much through all of them, except we haven't quite finalized the wetland restoration or habitat restoration area. That's probably still about 30–45 days out, but the easement over the tree farm has been completed. That's a 3-party agreement with the Becker family, or the owners there, the county, and Conservation Florida. So that's recorded and that's completed. We
To
actually
hold how many acres in conservation?
800
Forever.
forever, and that we just went through our annual inspections from Conservation Florida, and everything was concurrent with the easements. The train station is in Hope Sound. I will be remiss to say that once we got it there, I've been somewhat hands-off on what they're doing with it, but we're happy to have delivered it and let the Historical Society take care of it from there. The dedication of the park access, that is complete. The building has been turned over, and I did notice the park does have some people in kind of cleaning up and doing some things around there. We have been asked when it's going to be open to the public, and people are coming asking us, and we just really don't know. That's truly the park and their operations and when they want to open it up to the public. We still probably will do some stuff for them as far as parking areas and things like that when they decide kind of what they want to do. And the connections for the offsite stormwater now that we were taking in the 320-acre runoff from Thomas Produce, that connections are all made. They're all tied into our systems now. Our systems are complete and operational. So overall, the overall drainage system is now done, and it's working. Thankfully, because of the rains, it's working well. So, but those are the proffers that we had, and I think everything's pretty much going according to schedule.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Capps.
Yes, one of the public benefits that was offered by Atlantic Ridge was, was the southern access to the Atlantic Ridge State Park that you just referred to. Can you remind us exactly what you all did on that particular public benefit? And I know there's a road and there's a building.
Yeah, basically, we constructed a public access on the east side of the property that goes from Bridge Road up to what was an existing barn that was on when it was part of the old Hope Sound Polo Club. We donated the barn and the parcel, approximately 8 acres, to the state. That was basically in cooperation for us to get our easements for our utility connections. That was approved, and the transaction was closed 3 or 4 months ago. So it is owned by the state of Florida at this point, and like I said, I'm not sure. I know there are people working on it. I'm hoping that they're going to try to get it open soon. We still have a little bit of stuff to do as far as some helping them create some maintenance roads and things like that we're kind of in progress with. But those are all just sort of cleanup stuff that we're coordinating with the park on. Hopefully they'll open it up soon, but
Right.
that really isn't our call.
So the road that goes north on the east side of your property there, who owns the road? Is it Atlantic Fields? You continue to own the road, but you're giving public access on that road to the Atlantic Ridge State Park?
Correct. We own the road, but there was a perpetual easement that was granted to the state. That was granted via the plat.
You have any thoughts about what else might be needed there? Do we need? I haven't visited that site yet, but we're going to be going there soon to take a look at what we think we need there to have a good southern access to the Atlantic Ridge State Park. It would seem like you would need some kind of gate and a trail cut through there, or.
What we did was, at the park's request, we created a turnaround. So there is a point where they can put a physical gate in because obviously they want to control the access in there. So we created that, so if somebody comes in with a horse trailer and decides that the park's closed or whatever, they have the ability to turn around and get back out. Other than probably some parking that they're going to need, and I think we would work with them on helping them to deal with that. Any improvements to the buildings, that would really be up to them and what they want. There is a couple paddocks in that area that probably could use a little bit of rehabilitation, or maybe reduce them down to 1 or 2. Other than that, really, it's kind of up to the park what they want to do with it.
Okay, that was very helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Did we do this already?
We already voted, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
I make a
If a vote would be helpful, thank you.
motion to deny. I make a motion to accept staff's recommendation on DPQJ number 3 in the trifecta of today's approvals.
Second.
Any further comments? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Morris, you dropped your pen.
Next up is Department 1, which is Office of Management and Budget items, which require board approval. Good afternoon, Ms. Murley.
Good afternoon. I have 8 items for you on the OMB today. Our first item is permission to apply for the Children's Services Council Grant Program, the After School, Out of School Program Grant. Our Parks and Recreation Department is requesting permission to apply for up to $400,000 to fund various after-school and out-of-school youth programming. This programming has been run since 1994. There is a grant match of $375,000 that's currently budgeted within the Parks and Rec operation budget. Our second item is a permission to apply for the State of Florida FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement for the FY26 Section 5311 Non-Urbanized Area Formula Funds. Our Public Works Transit Department is requesting a grant of $176,811 to provide operating assistance to continue the Indiantown non-urbanized bus route services. There is approximately a grant match of $176,811 budgeted within the Public Works Transit operating budget. Item number 3 is a permission to accept the State of Florida Department of Health FY25 Emergency Medical Services, or the EMS Trust Fund grant. This is an annual grant that we receive from the state. It's in the amount of $22,360.99, and it enables the county to enhance the delivery of emergency medical services through the purchase of equipment that is not budgeted in the Fire Rescue Department budget. There is no grant match required on this. Item number 4 is permission to accept the Small County Outreach Program, or the SCOP Supplemental Agreement number 1 for the Southwest Fox Brown Road project. This supplemental agreement increases FDOT's participation by $167,727 and decreases our local requirement by $1.7 million. This is budgeted within the current match is budgeted in the Southwest Fox Brown Road CIP sheet. Item number 5 is a permission to accept the United States EPA 2023 South Florida Geographic Initiatives Grant. Our Environmental Services Division is requesting the acceptance of $400,000 for funding water quality, land use, and sediment nutrient analysis. There is a grant match of $80,000, which is budgeted in the Environmental Resource Division's operational budget. Item number 6 is a permission to accept amendment number 1 to the agreement for the Martin County Port Salerno New Monrovia Vacuum Sewer System project. The first amount was $500,000, and this amendment is providing an additional $12.5 million by FDEP to provide sewer availability to 960 parcels and eliminate nutrient loading from on-site septic
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the number, the dollar.
Let's hear the total number.
It went from 500,000 to 12,500,000 for a total of 13 million. So the funding will reduce the cost of the assessment, benefiting the property owners in that area.
Worth the wait.
Item number 7 is permission to accept the Clean Vessel Act grant. Our Utilities and Solid Waste Department is requesting the acceptance of $91,210 for expenses that are associated with the operation and the maintenance of the Pump Out Boat program. We have a match of $30,403, which is budgeted within the operational budget of Utilities and Solid Waste.
Sam Amerson, number 1 and the number 2.
Number 1.
It's old, isn't it?
No, it never gets old.
Yes, it is.
And item number 8 is a permission to accept the Florida Department of State Division of Library and Information Services, or the State Aid to Library Grant Fund. The state has awarded a grant in the amount of $75,883 to fund a full-time library specialist position that has been approved by the board back in June of 2015. There is no cash match required, and that is all I have for you today.
A lot of good news.
Any questions for Ms. Murley? Excellent job as always. Commissioner Capps?
Addie,
Hi.
who decides the match amounts on all of these grants? They seem to vary a lot. You know, some of them are 50-50, some of them don't have a match at all. You know, it's all over the board as far as, I'm curious about where that comes from.
It all depends on the actual grant, the agency, and so we match the criteria of the grant ahead of time as to some of them are nearly 100% on like some of the transit grants. And then others are, many of them are 50/50, but it depends on who's issuing the grant and what criteria. So it is all over the place, as you described, Commissioner.
Thank you, that's all.
Is there a motion to approve Department 1?
I'll move staff's recommendation for approval for departmental number 1.
I will second it.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Yeah, we are. Department 2 is contracts that meet the threshold for board approval of $1 million or greater. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Madam Chair. My name is Seth McConaughey. I'm your Senior Purchasing Agent for the record. I have 2 items for your consideration today. The first is a continuing service agreement for water meter installation. This agreement has a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years with a maximum not to exceed value of $4 million. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the 2 lowest responsive and responsible bidders, All Contractor Services Incorporated, doing business as Router 1, and Clearwater Solutions LLC. Staff is also recommending that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request. And my second and final item for your consideration today is another continuing service agreement for Banner Financial Management System technical and functional support. This has another maximum not to exceed term of 5 years and a maximum not to exceed value of $4 million. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the highest scoring proposer, David Kent Consulting Incorporated, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request. And that concludes my items.
Commissioner Heatherington.
Yeah, on departmental number 1, the bidders, it's very perplexing to me. So you've got, I don't know, 10 or more, 13 bidders, and they range from $755,000 to $5.7 million. That seems like a very broad range, and now we're selected the lowest bidder, which is in the $755 and $790. They're the top 2 bidders, but it seems highly unlikely are these people bidding on the same scope, because you've got a range between $750,000 to $5.7 million. So I'm concerned that, well, definitely they weren't bidding apples to apples in some case, but I mean, what do you?
For the record, Sam Emerson, Utilities and Solid Waste Department. There was a bid forum. They all bid the same items. There were numerous items for meter replacement, dual check valve replacement, raising the meter box, replacing the lid. We provide all the materials, and this is for labor. But they do. It's been my experience. They're all over the board.
That's a huge range if they all have the same bid form between $750,000 and $5.7 million.
$5 million swing.
We don't allow change orders in, say, on those top 2 bidders, right? If they were to come in and say, oops, we forgot XYZ, what's the next step
their
from
bid
there?
is their bid.
And they're responsible and responsive?
Occasionally, we have, in that situation, they are unable to perform. You have 2 contractors, I think, in this case, right, that we would go to, that actually they have to accept the same bid price for both of them. And if they're unable to perform, you'll see this rebid again. We just have to cancel it if they're unable to perform at the price.
Contractors.
Yes. But with the 2, and they all both accepted the lowest price, then it gives the opportunity that if one's too busy, you have another proper contractor that can perform, or if one, as you said, says, hey, I can't mobilize for this project that you assign me, it gives you the opportunity to go to the second one. Occasionally, when we've done this, one bidder may just simply withdraw entirely because they were unable to perform. But in the end, we're relying upon the good faith in the bid bonding that they provide, that they can meet the pricing that they put on the form.
That's right. And reference checks were made for the 2 low bidders, and they all came back with very good references.
Okay, just, just a very interesting bid, the way they bid that. So,
Any more questions for Mr. McConaughey?
Excellent job, Seth.
Yeah. Nice job. Is there a motion to approve?
so moved.
And a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioner.
We are going to, are we going to take you last? We're going to go to Department 4 next, which is a contribution toward the City of Stewart's 4th of July fireworks show.
I'll introduce this one. So, this is in celebration of our 100th year anniversary. I did reach out to the City of Stewart. This was not them reaching out to us. So I'm going to make sure that you all understand that it was to the city manager, Mike Mortel, if there was capability for them to celebrate our 100th with us, as they already have an established fireworks. They are expending $40,000 on the fireworks display. That's just for the pyrotechnics. They have another, I think, $25,000 in the rental of the barge. They did agree that they would love to celebrate our 100th with us. And the suggestion is that we would augment their existing display by 50%, which would be a $20,000 contribution. So in the end, you would have a $60,000 display of fireworks. Obviously, this is a little bit last minute, and the fact that we just have a few weeks before the July 4th. They have done initial preparations, hoping that we will participate with them. But I did explain to them there's no guarantee, as it was my recommendation. So anyway, as it is in the incorporated city limits, MSTU funds are not eligible for this, so the funding would be general fund reserves. And so it is my recommendation that for this one-time event, celebrating our 100th year anniversary within the county seat, that we would participate with the City of Stewart. They would acknowledge the county's 100th year as part of this event and celebrate our centennial. And that's really the simple request. Thank you.
Questions and comments? Commissioner Capps?
I think that's a really good gesture. And we need some fanfare. This is a big deal, 100-year celebration. So I would move approval.
Second.
Any further, Commissioner Vargas?
As I requested, can they say Martin County celebrating 100 years? You know, they do all this by computer.
I don't know that we have a sophisticated drone show, but they will certainly keep it in their literature and acknowledge. Yes, yes.
Mr. Mortel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And are you ready to proceed, or do we need to wait? Okay. We will now go on to Department 3, which is an affordable housing update.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. George Stokas for the record. Thanks for delaying. We're trying to, I don't know if Mr. Ranieri's behind me, but I know Ms. Carol Howard Dietz is behind me with United Way. Both of those individuals represent some groups that we have as staff been meeting with for affordable housing. I know it's been a little bit of a while since we've had the affordable housing update. We were curious as to see, and still kind of are curious to see, as to where the state is going to go through its legislative session on that. But during those various meetings, we've had numerous questions in regards to LDRs as it relates to accessory dwelling units, as well as we've had some conversations with the Community Land Trust and where it relates to Banner Lake, which I know are kind of two different projects for various commissioners up here who are concerned. So the reason I'm here for today, just to keep it brief but hopefully brilliant, is I'm looking for some direction from the board as to staff would like to go ahead and begin researching and then come back to you with some proposed revisions to the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan and/or the land development regulations as it regards to, to accessory dwelling units, as well as the definition of family that is in our county zoning definition book. And also, I'm pretty sure that we will need to come back at a later date in regards to Banner Lake. So with that, I know Ms. Elder from our Deputy County Attorney, and I believe Clyde Doolin and Mr. Schilling are here from Growth Management if there's any questions. But really, this is just a request for us to be allowed to go back, look at some of these things and refine them and come back to you at a later date. And that is my presentation, ma'am.
Questions, comments? Mr. King?
Thank you. If you remember a long time ago, I guess a couple of years ago, I started thinking about affordable housing. It's an issue that's happening everywhere in America, but obviously here as well. And there, at the time, I talked about like what the procedure would be. It's such a large, multifaceted issue. It's easy to become overwhelmed, and when you become overwhelmed, we'll just say, we'll do nothing. And what I was trying to say at the time, and I appreciate staff sticking with it, a lot of our not-for-profits sticking with it, is instead of just getting frustrated by that it's so large we won't be able to do anything, we will look at it piece by piece. And I used an example of the story, and I still like it because I think it just sort of sums up what we're up against, of a little boy throwing something into the ocean, and a guy walks up and he sees that there's thousands of starfish on the beach. And this little boy is throwing starfish into the ocean, and the man says to him, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm trying to save these starfish." And he's like, "Well, you're never going to be able to do it. There's just too many here. It won't make a difference." And he throws another one into the water, and he goes, "Well, it will for that one." And I think when we address housing, we're not going to solve the housing problem, but to do nothing, I believe, as elected officials, is irresponsible of us. And every year that we wait or we don't act decisively, people are struggling. And now, sadly, more and more people are probably joining into that. Layer on top of that, the remarkable, if you're selling your home in the last several years, the remarkable housing boom, which forced, and then of course now you have the much higher interest rates. So folks that were well on their way to saving enough money to achieve that goal, the dream of home ownership, they're not able to when the interest rates are hovering around 7. It takes them out of the home buying market, leaving them in the rental market, compressing the supply even more so, allowing landlords to make their rates higher. Now, I agree, and I've said all along, it's not the government's responsibility. When we talk about these projects, we're not talking about government-sponsored housing projects. We're talking about how do we assist not-for-profits or private sector developers, or in this particular case, individual homeowners, to help ease some of this compaction. I think what Mr. Stokas and Rob Ranieri and has an ad hoc committee of experts working on this. This was the first step to recreate some of the definitions. That's the kind of thing that we can do as your local government. We can make the process more attainable, more understandable, easier to navigate, so that you don't have to necessarily have a whole team of paid professional consultants to help you just figure out that you could put an apartment above your garage or add an accessory dwelling unit in your backyard. Our language, and I appreciate our growth management staff with you and legal, because it's a multifaceted, even the solutions in the building. You all have met many times with the group to bring this first step forward, which is to help us define or redefine what some of these requirements and definitions and that we have in our regulations. So I would hope that my colleagues would see it similarly. It's just the first step. By doing some of this, it also, for people that are concerned about larger scale developments, multi-unit developments, giving people the ability to create something much smaller not only does it add a unit to the inventory, the other side of the benefit is if you were the original homeowner and you did have the ability to put some type of an accessory dwelling on your property, and there's a lot of requirements on how you could do that, parking and such, you can also create an additional income stream that can help you get through the difficult times. So there's a landlord benefit. Now remember, we're not talking about multi-unit landlords. We're talking about someone who owns a home and might be able to get one extra unit out of it. And these are not meant to be 2,000 square foot, 3,000 square foot units. This is the opening kind of entry level of apartments, if you will. And so I'm very pleased that this is here today, and I'd love to hear from my colleagues. I hope that Mr. Ranieri will be able to attend. I know he's been back and forth all day here, but I think it's really an important step in the right direction for us as a board and as a government to show our residents that we are trying hard to take the issue of affordable housing seriously here for our Martin County residents. Thank you.
Any other comments? Commissioner Capps.
Mr. Stokas, when you come back to us, maybe you could refresh our memories about not only our comp plan provisions regarding adequate housing for residents, but also I was rather intrigued by what the Florida statutes have to say, as well about our obligations as a county to provide adequate housing for existing and future populations. I thought that was really interesting when I was taking some online classes for this program called Certified County Commissioner, and which I think Commissioner Vargas is also doing it, and our more senior members of the commission have already done. But
We weren't allowed to do them online. We had to actually go to Gainesville and do them in person.
But I took 2 or 3 classes on affordable housing from the Florida Housing Coalition. That was very, very interesting, and they emphasized several times that that's actually in Florida statutes, and it would be good for us to be reminded of what those statutes say, and then also the comp plan of provisions that we would have locally on the subject that have to do with residential capacity and that kind of thing. It'd be good to have a refresher on that. The other thing that I think is interesting about accessory dwelling units is to remind everyone that guest houses are generally allowed now in many neighborhoods. And generally the rule is that a guest house is supposed to be half the size of the main house. And technically, as I understand it right now, you're not supposed to rent your guest house out. It's supposed to be for like guests, and not tenants. But perhaps we could just, one of the considerations could be allowing those guest houses to be rented out with separate water meters and mailboxes and electric meters, and so that people are free to just rent them out. So that's a thought, and it would be something that perhaps we could discuss. But I think it's interesting to remind the public about what a guest house is currently and how many people in many neighborhoods are already allowed to build something in the backyard. So this would perhaps be just a little more flexible.
Would anyone from the public like to address us on this? Commissioner Hetherington.
I would just add that I would prefer to look at things that work with Martin County specific than to be preempted by the state and be forced to do things. So I think looking at this holistically and what works in Martin County is a smart decision moving forward, and I think ADUs is probably a good place to start.
Any further comments? Okay, thank you. That brings us to the end of our meeting. Would anyone from the public like to address us on another matter?
Mr. Stokas, can I ask him one more thing? Did you need me to talk about Banner Lake, or?
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
We'll just bring it up next time. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank
Go
you.
ahead. That's fine.
Oh, Madam Chair, would you mind voting on my recommended motion proposed for you?
Is,
Just move that the board direct staff to research.
Do research.
Research and propose revisions to the comprehensive plan and/or LDR for accessory dwelling units in furtherance of providing affordable housing.
is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes
Thank you.
unanimously. So it's time for commissioner comments. Commissioner Vargas.
No, I think we talked about hopefully a very, very good trip last week. I have a lot of confidence. We had a strong team there, and everything moved seamlessly. So very grateful to have the opportunity to meet the representatives, federal representatives, senators, staff, and departments. So thank you.
Commissioner Capps.
I'm good.
I just wanted to bring up, hopefully you've noticed that this room underwent a renovation since our last meeting. And it's a substantial renovation, and we were all a little nervous about it because it's a big difference. It's much bolder. The result, in my opinion, is warm and pleasing. And it's been at least 30 years since this room had any sort of attention given to it, including a paint job. So we replaced chairs, we replaced carpeting, we painted, and it looks sensational. And I just want to say it was a major undertaking, and it was undertaken by our general services staff, and MCTV gave an awful lot of input, and it was seamless. Everybody was so pleasant to work with, and it was done in such an efficient manner, and everyone cared, and it was just a marvelous renovation, and I want to thank everyone who was involved, all of you who participated. You did a terrific job. Thank you. Commissioner Campy.
We won't be meeting again until July 8th, so let me wish you a happy and safe 4th of July.
Join the fireworks. Commissioner Hetherington.
I'm all set, thank you.
Mr. Donaldson.
No, just thank you for the attendance in DC. I thought we did have a great team, and ending up with the Office of Management budget, which is quite prickly, and then bringing in a junior member to get educated on Everglades and Martin County issues to mentor them, I thought was a great kind of explanation point at the end. So thank you again.
Yeah,
I thought they were very friendly, very warm.
I just want to say that we go to see an awful lot of legislative representatives. We went to see our senators. We went to see our representatives. We went to see other people's representatives. We went to Office of Management and Budget. We went to the Army Corps of Engineers. We went to Department of Transportation. When we go to Washington, D.C., we spend your money wisely. We spend our time wisely. We went to the Everglades Summit for a day, and that was extremely instructive. So it was a very illuminating visit, as always. And also thanks to our representatives in Washington who accompany us and hold our hands and drag us to all of our meetings, navigating through the Capitol. Ms. Woods.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Capps.
One other comment. Shout out to Congressman Brian Mast because he met with us personally. With all of the other senators and representatives, we met with key staff, very powerful figures on their staff, but he met with us personally, so that was pretty cool.
So did Congresswoman Frankel.
She did too. That's right. Congresswoman Frankel, from former mayor of West Palm Beach. Right.
We are adjourned. Thank you.